Welcome to Club Soda's Mindful Drinking Festival. We're online, global, and as always, absolutely free. Hi, I'm Drew, and I'm one of the co-founders of Club Soda.
And I'm Laura, the other co-founder of Club Soda. We help you change your drinking in ways that help you live well. So whether you're looking to cut down, stop for a bit, or quit, you can find what you need from podcasts and books and courses on joinclubsoda.com. This festival, we've brought you an amazing lineup from over 100 people from across the world.
And our programme this time really is global.
Every day starts down under with me, Sarah. As well as organising the festival in Australia, I spend my time looking for alcohol-free alternatives and tips for people who choose not to drink, but who still want to live a social, fun and adventurous life.
And I'll be wrapping up each day here in the States. I'm Amanda, your US festival host and coordinator, and I'm also a mindset coach who helps women change their relationship with alcohol so that they can start living their most authentic life.
Each day with a rolling programme of inspirational panels, conversations, social events, and opportunities to discover new low and low alcohol drinks.
So whether you want inspiration to change your drinking,
Or to connect with other people,
or you want to discover and enjoy a new low and no alcohol drink,
The Mindful Drinking Festival is for you.
cheers!
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 cheers.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Mindful Drinking Festival. We are 4 p.m. on Saturday here in Sydney, Australia. Welcome to everybody across Australia and New Zealand. Welcome to everybody who has logged in early in the morning from the UK. You guys are legends if you're here and it's 7 a.m. Well done. This is the Socialising Sober panel, and my name is Hannah Rodger. I am the co-founder of Sober Seekers Club, which is a networking group for women in Sydney to hang out and not have to talk about booze or drink booze. And I am joined by some pretty awesome people here who I am going to introduce to you now. And then we're going to have a chat about all things socialising sober, something that I didn't think I could do 3 years ago and now can't imagine socialising any other way. So without further ado, I'll welcome our awesome guests. We have Bianka Ismailovski and Annie Nolan, who are the co-hosts of We Want to Be Better podcast. So Bianka and Annie, why don't you tell us a bit about you guys and what your interest is in the mindful drinking thing?
Yeah, sure. So we're best friends and we have a podcast which is about us just trying to be better. And yes, alcohol was always the one topic that we never touched on because I had a bit of a problem and I didn't want to admit I had a problem. And then I got sober and got sober, and we just, we are pretty passionate about talking about it and sharing our stories. Yeah, had less of a problem. No, I did actually have a problem, but Bianca's was very she clearly had a problem, bless her. And then I didn't think that giving up alcohol changed my life at all, and it changed my life completely. My shift was mental health.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, that's certainly something that I can resonate with. And I think that's something that we'll talk about a bit more during this session. Like you touched on there, that, whether or not you have a problem with alcohol, and reasons for stopping. I don't think we necessarily need to have hit rock bottom to decide that alcohol is something that we don't need in our lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
So great. Welcome, guys. Really excited to have you here. We also have Caedz from Sober CBR. So, Caedz, please, can you introduce yourself and tell us what you guys are doing?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Caedz. I use they, them pronouns, just so you know. And Sober Canberra is a project that's been headed up by Meridian, which was formerly the AIDS Action Council here in Canberra, basically to address risky drinking within the LGBTQI communities. And just remind everybody that, socialising sober is easy. And it's about, who you're with, not what's in your glass. And that's what we do. So that's why I'm here.
Excellent. And yes, it's something that really resonates with me, that being a part of minority communities, I think is really important to talk about, because I've seen through my own social group that a lot of people get into dangerous kind of drinking territory when they feel like they're in a minority group. And
Absolutely.
less places to safe places to go and hang out.
Yeah, and it's been particularly interesting for us, considering our safe places are traditionally bars.
Yes.
So sort of changing up that narrative and challenging that social norm is why we're about. So
excellent. Thanks, Kate. We'll chat soon. So we also have Sam Wilson, who is the founder of Sober Mates. So Sam, why don't you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, hi guys. I am the founder of Sober Mates, and it is an online platform here to help you explore your relationship with alcohol. And I'm super pumped to be here today, because I think there is a lot of fear about going sober in your mid-20s, and I'm here to show that you can still have a social life, even though you're not drinking at a young age.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. And I have to say, looking at this panel, everybody is young here, and that is true. Really makes me quite excited, because when I first gave up drinking, I was the only person I knew that didn't drink, and I really thought that it was only something that you did if you were old and you were an alcoholic. So this is great. And we also have Leanne, Claire Franks, and Leisa Leon, who are the founders of Rise Revolution. So do you guys want to explain what Rise Revolution is and just tell us why you're here as well?
Yeah, hi. Before I introduce myself, I just wanted Leisa and I want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which we're speaking from today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations. We acknowledge and pay our respect to the elders past, present and future. And we also pay our respects to any Aboriginal people with us here today, and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. And this land always was and always will be Aboriginal land. So I'm Leanne, and I had my own kind of personal rock bottom years of trying to give up drinking. Due to mental health and stress, I was kind of self-medicating with 2-3 bottles of vodka a night. And I decided to finally get sober a couple of years ago. Kind of got some starts, and I finally gave up last January. And I first started Rise Revolution because I just could not find anyone else in Melbourne who wasn't drinking. I'm sure there were loads out there, but I couldn't find my community. So I set up a meetup, and we kind of started having events, and I've created this little community of kind of mainly women. We come together and have amazing nights out. Well, not so much now because of lockdown. But I suppose the reason for me wanting to talk about socializing is that it was the one thing that I knew I had to master if my sobriety was going to be sustainable. I've always been a social person, and I just thought, if I'm going to be able to keep this up, then I have to learn how to do everything just without a glass of alcohol in my hand. So over to you, Leisa.
Thanks. And I'm Leisa. I am one half of Rise Revolution, and essentially Rise is also about helping people navigate the highs and lows that come after giving up alcohol. So through our own experience, Leanne and I have learned that potentially actually giving up the booze was the easiest part. It's actually what happens next that can really be confronting for us. So we also have a podcast as part of Rise Revolution, which is called After Alcohol, which really explores these issues more in depth. For me, my sober journey was like Leanne. I hit a personal rock bottom where I was actually quite addicted to alcohol and drinking multiple bottles of wine per night, trying to deal with the mental health issues that I had from running my own business and all of those kinds of things. And I actually met Leanne through her meetup, and we've been best buddies.
She slid into my DMs, and the rest is history.
Oh, so great. Aren't sober mates the best mates? I love it. That's really cool. Well, thank you for introducing yourselves, guys. And I think this is a really important discussion. And like you just touched on there, for me, and the reason I wanted to host this panel was that, like you just said, Claire, socializing for me was all about booze. So when I first gave up, it was kind of horrifying to me that I wouldn't be able to go down the pub and have a few drinks on a Friday or a Thursday or Sunday lunchtime or whenever I was catching up with my friends. That was all that we really did. And I think in my head, socializing sober was something that was going to be sat, in a knitting circle or, just doing something that I considered really boring whilst everybody else was having fun. And I have, kind of struggled through the first few weeks and months of being sober, where I first kind of still hung out in those same pubs with those same people and just kind of, white knuckled it. And I don't know if that's the term, drinking my lime and soda, kind of staring at people's wines, hating life. To realizing that actually, if I stopped hanging out in those places and hung out in other places, then maybe I'd meet other people that were also not drinking, and I could start to rebuild my social life that to look different but still be just as fun. So what I'd like to ask everyone here is kind of, what does socializing sober look like for you versus what you thought it would look like? So Bianca and Annie, I'll go back to you guys.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be super boring. Sorry, there's a lot of feedback coming through. I don't know where that's coming in from. Yeah, I thought it was going to be super, super boring. I thought I can't actually do it because, like you, I thought that the one thing that I did with my friends was actually drinking. But it actually turns out that I hang out with my friends because I like them. And yeah, I would have thought. So yeah, actually, it's so much more fun. And I think the thing is that it's easier to socialize sober because you have to sacrifice a lot to socialize with alcohol. You've got to get an Uber and you've got to pay for booze and then you've got to give up the next day. And there's so many things that I'd have to give up in order to socialize with alcohol. But socializing sober, I can do whatever I want. I can drive wherever I want to go. It costs me maybe $10 to be out because I just buy a soda, and I can leave whenever I want, and then I can do whatever I want the next day. So it's much better for me personally.
Yeah, it's definitely better. I was lucky because Bianca went sober a month before me. So I saw her troubles first and then I got to make sure that I sidestepped all those. So she was the guinea pig. But I thought it was going to be really hard, but actually the main thing that I took away was time. I feel like when I would drink, I would spend less time talking to my friends. I'd talk to random people. I have this thing when I get drunk, I have to get into political debates and find the person that doesn't believe in what I believe in the pub and then tell them how they're wrong and, they should change their mind. So I was just excruciating.
Yeah, that hasn't changed though. I mean, she still has political debates.
I know when to walk away now. But it's also, you realize it's all about quality and not quantity. So I can definitely see when, okay, that's enough's enough. I'll call it a night now and I'll be able to leave. But also the next day for me, I would say go out on a Friday night and the next day my kids would have sport. They play football or something in the morning and I just wouldn't get up. I felt like I was always I was always running to catch up with my life and I wasn't really present. And unfortunately, I thought that I had to go out because I had to be a good friend, but then I have to be a good mum. And then, trying to do the juggling act of it all, it just wasn't working when alcohol was involved. And as soon as alcohol got taken out, I realized that I can actually still go out with my friends. But then I also can get up in the morning for my kids, and then I could do it all.
Hannah Montana, best of both worlds.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that used to kill me. I'm a stepmom, and my stepkids are 10 and 13 now, but they were 5 and 8 when I first met them. And my husband and I used to go out, we'd go out drinking on the weekends when we didn't have the kids, but then, the weekends that we did, we'd drink at home. And then Saturday morning swimming at 8 a.m. The last thing you want to be doing is be in a noisy pool building that stinks of chlorine that's 38 degrees at 8 a.m. with a hangover.
Yeah, exactly.
And why did I ever think that was a good idea?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, even when I did turn up, say like you would go and you'd go to swimming or whatever, you might be there, like you might not be that much of a failing parent or whatever, and you'd manage to make it there. But I felt like I was never present. Like I was resenting it the whole time I was there. And I didn't want to do that anymore. And giving up alcohol definitely changed that for me.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's and it's something that I think, and I don't know whether this is a generational thing or if anybody else can speak to this, but I grew up in a household where my parents don't have problems with alcohol, but they would drink, you know, with dinner, or they drink when they had friends over, and alcohol was totally normalized. So I just assumed that that's what, you know, that's okay to do it. So when I'm having a glass of wine whilst I'm making the kids dinner, it's like, oh, this is just normal. But you know, my parents didn't have a problem with alcohol. I did. So I wasn't just drinking the one glass. I was drinking a bottle, and then I was drinking another bottle when they got to bed. And so
yeah, absolutely. I feel like when we look at like the way that we drank, you know, like Bianca, like we were saying, it was quite clear, like it was quite obvious. But for me, I feel like it was robotic. It wasn't necessarily that I couldn't go without it or anything, but it was that I just turn up, and then, you know, because they are, then I am drinking, and, you know, okay, well, yes, we have a glass of wine as we cook. Like it was just robotic. There was no mindfulness at all to the drinking that I did. And even when I tried to all of a sudden drink mindfully in the month where Bianca gave up, and I was like, okay, well, I'm more conscious of it now, I realized that, oh, this is actually not an easy habit to break. This is it's conditioned.
Yeah, definitely. Caedz, so I'm really interested to hear your experience with socializing, you know, socializing pre giving up alcohol and socializing sober, and, you know, what that means for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, mine's a bit of a funny story because I was essentially professionally paid to drink. I was a sommelier for quite a long time, and very much living on the banks of the Nile on that one. You know, meetings with wine reps got earlier and earlier. Suddenly then I wasn't actually spitting wine, I was just actually imbibing it. And then throughout services, it would be, you know, you've got to test every bottle, make sure they're all good. So I would find that, you know, by the dinner service, I was more than 3/4 cut and was just continuing to go. It was one of those things that it was a few lucky encounters, which, you know, nearly getting mugged in Paris, you kind of go, oh, that would have been really bad had I been drunker. And one of those things that you just kind of go, actually, I really do need to address my drinking habits. It's still a struggle. Like there's certainly no pink clouds in sobriety for me. Most of my moderation is still a real work. And it's a work of art, actually. But I think, and I've read so much Quit Lit recently, I can't actually remember whose quote it is. It could be Ruby, it could be Annie, it could be one of these fantastic panelists. But the quote of, you know, the first 15 minutes of anything is weird. So just rock up late. Basically, and allow yourself to be awkward. I think there's actually a real beauty in how awkward we are as humans, and how we actually connect. And I've found in sobriety, or at least in mindful drinking in moderation, my connections to people are so much deeper, and I can actually rationalise whether or not I think someone's a dickhead. You know how you always meet that person in the pub and you're like, I think you're a little bit too drunk to actually work out whether or not they are. And now I can, you know, I've you know, one of my favourite stories is we actually met a couple out on a group night and liked them so much that after meeting them once, we invited them to our wedding. So you can actually make those judgment calls and you get that connection really quickly around who people are. And, you know, it is very much, and I agree with Annie there, that, you know, drinking is often rote. You know, you go out, you go to the bar, you go out, you get drunk. You go to someone's house, you take a couple of bottles of wine. And it's just this societal convention that we've all sort of grown up in and bought into, that it's not until you actually stop and look at it that you remember that it's about the connections, and you know, you do like your friends, and that's why you want to hang out with them. So, you know, the changes aren't easy, but they can be made.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you've both kind of touched on that, you know, why do you socialise? You socialise because you like hanging out with your mates, not because of the drink. And I think for me and a few people that I know who have also stopped, you know, some of your friendship circle might change when you stop drinking, because there might be people that you've had in your life that, you know, have the same destructive patterns as you, and you only really notice that when you stop. You know, and
yeah, absolutely.
You become a much more shrewd judge of character, for sure. And I think you know, in kind of my world, if we're allowed to swear on here, you know, it's a bit of a no dickhead policy that you
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of it as well. You can actually really trust yourself to make those calls, and it becomes easier. I think the less that you drink, the easier it is to walk away from other toxic situations as well, and the easier it becomes to actually fix areas in your life that are problematic or challenging, because you've done it once with such a huge hill to get up, that, you know, we generally look askance at people that don't drink as if there's actually something weird with them, rather than the other way around, you know. And so once you've climbed that hill once, fixing other bits and pieces in your life actually becomes really, really easy.
Yeah.
Or easier, I should say.
And I'm seeing the answer from everyone here as well. I think that's certainly, yeah. I think since I've stopped drinking, it's been a slow process, but I've completely changed careers. You know, I had a baby 9 weeks ago, which would be completely out of the question, you know, 3 years ago, when I was waking up, you know, and sticking my head down the toilet for most of Saturday. So it's yeah. But these things happen slowly as well, you know, and I think you need to give yourself time. And I think that's something that I'm, you know, kind of type A personality and very impatient. When I first gave up drinking, I expected to be able to go to the pub and be totally cool without, you know, without having wine in my hand 2 weeks into my sober journey. And it does take a bit longer than that. So
yeah. So it depends on how big the wine glass is.
Yeah. This is it. So, Sam, I'm really interested to hear a bit more about Sober Mates, because we've had a bit of a chat offline, and I know that similar to the other guys in here, you know, you were kind of looking for your tribe when you stopped drinking. So, yeah, what does socializing sober look like for you?
Yeah, so previously, like when I was drinking, I toyed with the idea of giving up alcohol for probably 18 months. And my whole social life evolved around drinking and catching up with mates, and that's how we caught up. So when I was toying with the idea of giving up alcohol, I just expected that, you know, if I was going to go sober, I would be rocking up to events and, you know, be jealous of everyone else who were able to drink, and be jealous of, you know, them finishing off with wine while I was watching sort of in the distance. But it hasn't been like that at all. I've been lucky enough to completely change my mindset around alcohol, and I'm just doing more activities that don't involve alcohol as well. So it absolutely, what you guys were saying before, it's about the connections and hanging out with mates that you actually want to hang out with. You don't need alcohol to hang out with them. That's been a big thing for me. And then, yeah, with finding my tribe, I have been a bit of a lonely sober person in the first few weeks, and I didn't know where to reach out to, and so I decided to create Sober Mates to find my own community. And then, yes, with Sober Mates we've just evolved, and we're talking about the complexities of Australia's binge drinking culture, and how you can sway away from that and learn how to understand your relationship with alcohol to make choices that are right for you.
Yeah, awesome. And I think that the key word there is the choice, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, you know, we are in a completely booze-soaked society where, you know, people do still think it's weird to not drink, which is bizarre, really.
Yeah, so we would just want to give the option to people to just question their behaviours around alcohol, because I think, you know, when you turn 18, you just end up picking up a glass of wine or a beer and not even questioning it at all. So that's what we're trying to do is with Sober Mates, is open up that space to really question your habits around drinking and why you do actually drink.
Yeah, amazing.
If you choose to.
Amazing. But yeah, I mean, super brave. I'm just like, I'm in awe of everyone on this on this panel for doing what you guys do. So Leanne, I'm really sorry I called you Claire earlier. I'm going to say
okay. My middle name.
I'm so sorry. So Leanne and Leisa, tell us a bit more about your experience with socialising sober.
Do you want me to go first?
Oh, I don't mind. Would you? Yeah.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Right. Don't know who's going to speak first. So I was terrified of giving up alcohol because it was in every part of my life. Like at the time I worked in advertising, and one of our accounts was a large alcohol company. I won't name names. But because of that, we had a bar at work. So it was free booze all day. There was a handbook that said it was like proper etiquette to wait till 3 p.m. to have a drink, but people were drinking at lunchtime. so I didn't have a break from it. Like when I went to the office, I was drinking all afternoon and then drinking in the evening. Friday nights we're socializing with people from work, kind of climbing the ladder as well by going out with work colleagues and drinking with them. And so because I read somewhere there's like quite a high percentage of you're more likely basically to get a promotion in that kind of industry if you drink with your work colleagues. So I was terrified because I just thought my whole life is going to change. How am I going to be in an office where alcohol is just wafted under my nose all the time? But, it got to the point where it was critical that I gave up. I was starting to get ill. And so I just... I'd say for the first few months, I was a hermit. I did hide. I'd leave work early and kind of work from home. I wouldn't really go out. But like I said before, for it to be sustainable, I knew that I was going to have to kind of relearn how to socialize and do everything I did before without alcohol. What I didn't expect was how many friends I would lose. So that was kind of a negative side effect. They were drinking buddies, we didn't really have that connection. But, ultimately that's no bad thing because you kind of do start to know who your friends are, the ones that support you and respect you in your decision. So yeah, it just took a bit of getting used to kind of, I would go out here and there and it kind of crept back up where I started going out again on Friday nights to the hotels around here. And what I just loved was that connection that you had with people, the amazing chats you had that you wouldn't have remembered, when you were drinking. And like you said, like that no dickhead policy, it's so true. Just your tolerance just goes right down. I'm just like, no, sorry, not dealing with you. So it was a different type of socializing, but it was a much richer kind of scene. And then obviously like creating Rise and the events that we put on, we had like sober supper clubs. So it would be, I don't know, I mean, the first one, about 3 people, I think, turned up. It got better as it went on. And it was just the deep and meaningful chats you had. Like there's no, I can swear, can't I? There's no bullshit. Like it's, no small talk. Like you come away and think, God, I just had the most amazing conversations and have created these really deep friendships. So really that was the most rewarding thing out of starting it, was kind of walking away with that kind of group of women, who I just, couldn't imagine meeting when I was drinking, because I was just chasing all sorts.
Yeah.
So over to you, Leisa.
Oh, so I think for me, my biggest fear when socializing was actually like, I think, is it Annie? I forget which one's which, sorry, said about being present. I was like a drunk girl who was the habitual line stepper. Like I would just get so drunk every time I went out, to the point of being blackout drunk and like falling asleep sometimes in clubs and just being a complete mess where my friends had to look after me. So in terms of like me socializing. It was kind of actually being a cognizant and present human being. So it was more about me unlearning all of the humiliating kind of things that I had done when I was drinking, and yeah, reestablishing like who I am without the booze. And so, like everyone has kind of touched on, you're just having more meaningful and deeper connections with people. Your friends who you're socializing with are your real friends who you can like have these amazing conversations with, and people who love and accept you, even if you do go home at 10 p.m. because they're all wasted or whatever. But yeah, I just don't think, I feel for me personally, it's a better experience socializing, and I actually love it. Like I love going to the pub or, out for a dance with my friends, because for once I'm kind of really there.
Yeah, and I think it's that whole idea of just continuing to do everything you did before, like go sit in a bar with your friends, like if you're comfortable doing that, and spending the night, but just disappearing before witching hour, or gremlin hour as people call it, when people have got to that point where they've started repeating themselves, like that's when I exit, go home, cup of herbal tea in bed.
Definitely. And I think everyone's kind of touched on their fears before they stopped drinking. And I think for me, I was desperate not to lose my friends, because the group of friends that I was hanging out with were the people that I'd met when I first moved to Sydney 3 years before. But really, they were people that I'd met through a meetup group that was all based around drinking. So when I decided to stop, actually, it was never a conversation with any of them. They all just dropped off, and they stopped wanting to hang out. They didn't want to come around anymore. They just weren't really interested. And I think I had to go through a bit of a grieving process with that before I could then be comfortable to go out and meet new people. And the friends that did stay, there was a bit of kind of getting over the shame of, I was also that drunken idiot that, that did stupid things. And I was always the just one more. I'll come back to our place. It's 3 a.m., but come back to our place and we've got loads of booze and we'll stay up until the sun rises. Like I was 31 when I stopped. So like when you're 30, you can't, like, your body cannot cope with staying up for 24 hours.
Takes you like a month to recover.
Yeah. And I had terrible skin and my hair was always falling out and I was always like on the verge of being sick and I was miserable, and I just didn't equate that all of those problems would go away as soon as I put the wine down.
Yeah, I just wanted to stay on that point. That I used to go out because I wanted to, get dressed up and stuff. But now, like, I really look good when I go out, because before, I looked terrible, my skin was bad, and I couldn't afford good clothes because I put all of the money away. But now it's like, I'm a glowing goddess, and I look amazing. I'm not falling asleep when I'm out. Yeah, so I like going out for that.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with that. And the money thing, we've kind of touched on it a bit. I don't know if any of you guys have had an app that has tracked the number of sober days that you've had. So
yeah, I had one. I did have one.
Probably a bit different for you being someone that moderates, but
yeah, but I'm also never going to let an app tell me how much money I've saved. It's one of those things you don't actually need to see the number. It's obscene. Like, I can tell by how much money is still left in my bank account these days.
Yes.
One of those things that I no longer have to budget quite as hard, and that is because A, my wife's brilliant with money, and B, we've actually got more. So
yes.
And it's just one of those things. I'll never let an app tell me that. I don't need the proof.
Yeah, it was something that after I'd done my first 90 days, and I kind of stopped really counting after that because again, like, you know, I was checking the app like every 6 hours. I didn't need to keep checking it, but I'd saved like it was a few $1,000s. It was, you know, it was quite scary, really, how much money I was wasting. And it wasn't just on drinking. I was then smoking cigarettes, and I was then having to get an Uber home, and then I was ordering a takeaway that I was too drunk to eat by the time it arrived, or I was buying an extra bottle of wine on the way home that I didn't need, or I was shouting all of my friends' drinks because I thought they'd like me more if I bought everyone shots.
Yeah, I turned into giddy, you know, like for some reason at the end of the night, you know, I'm like, I've got all the things, like, let me buy the shots. Like, oh, you can't afford it. And for some reason, I think I'm P. Diddy, and I'm like, yeah, babe, I got that. And then the next day I wake up and I'm like, great, I've got $10 to last me till payday, which is a week away because, the first night I get paid, I go to the pub and blow all my money.
Do you know, I actually used to get an Uber to work every morning because I didn't want to throw up on the tram.
Yeah,
so
nice.
I added that. So extravagant. Honestly, I just couldn't handle it. I'd just be like, oh, I've got 10 minutes to get to work. Oh, I'll just get an Uber. So it was an Uber home the night before, then an Uber the next morning. And then I got sent a video at the end of the year that was like an interactive thing to show me all of the times I'd got Ubers, and it was just really depressing. So
yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I think one of my lowest moments was it was maybe about 3 o'clock in the morning. I was at home drinking with my husband. We'd been out, and I decided, because we'd run out of cigarettes, that I really needed to get some more. So we got an Uber to the local servo to buy a packet of fags.
Yeah,
That's really
Yeah.
How
Like,
bad
also,
is it? I would drink
walk there.
so much. And I would wake up the next day and like I'd smoked an entire deck, and I would just be like, how did I allow this to happen? Like, you just consume so much when you're drinking. You just don't know that there's a limit. Like, even if I was smoking, I would be like, I feel sick, but I was just like, one more. And the next thing you know, you wake up, you don't know where your shoes are. Like, how did I get home last night? There's no cigarettes left, and I've got no money. And it's just like being able to trust myself again. Like, I really stopped trusting myself. I couldn't be responsible for my own self for a really long time. And I actually got scared of the things that I would allow myself to get into and the dangerous positions I put myself in. But now I'm actually like such a competent person. I can really, I'm an independent woman.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, we've got about 7 minutes left of this chat, although I could go all afternoon. I think this is great. But one of the things for me was that once I'd kind of got through those first few weeks of sobriety and kind of finding my feet with it, you know, like you just said, I started to be proud of myself and think like, actually, I really quite like who I am now. And I don't have that kind of cloud of, oh, did I say something embarrassing, or do I have to apologize to this person, or
did I really call your mother that?
Just hiding my phone. Like, I would just keep my phone hidden the next day because I just assumed everyone hated me. And so if I wasn't looking at my phone, then I was like hiding from the world.
Actually, Bianca used to delete all the apps off her phone before we started drinking. So she would actually delete Instagram, delete Snapchat, and she'd have to re-download them all later.
Because I knew that I would do something stupid and upload something drunk to my Insta story, and then the next day have to delete it all. So I would delete that. And then during the night, I'd like pick up my phone to go, I'm like, this is hilarious, let's put this on Instagram. And thankfully the app was not there, but it was a good fail safe for me. But
maybe I should have done that, because the next mornings I would be scrolling through my Instagram stories and just be like, all right, delete, who saw that one? So that's great, glad I've got my mum on Instagram.
I uploaded a nude to my Snapchat story, and everyone had screenshot it. Like, it was, I think I was like sending a sexy pic to my ex to be like, don't you miss me and want me back? She rightly so never came back to me. But I actually uploaded it to my whole story, and so many people have it, and there is a nude out there of me somewhere.
And her phone died.
Couldn't delete it. So there you go, everyone.
Classic.
Free nudes.
Classic. Okay, so now we're all kind of comfortable, with ourselves and socializing sober. What's your favorite sober social activity? I'm gonna go to Sam first.
So my favorite activity now is ocean swims. So I've been jumping in the ocean 3 times a morning down at Eastern Beach in Geelong, and I've just started getting a bit of a crew going to come down with me. So I had 10 people jumping in the water and sitting around talking with us on a Friday morning yesterday, which was amazing. So I love the ocean. Always wanted to go to the beach more, but had those hungover days, so never did, and now I go to the beach on a weekday, which is great.
So cool. Caedz, what about you? What's your fave?
Yeah, probably actually bushwalking with my wife, getting out and about and just having a look at, we try and spot as much wildlife as we can. And secretly, she was a twitcher. I didn't know. So that's actually fantastic, and spotting the different birds and actually having a competition about it. So, but yeah.
Great. And Leanne, what's your favourite sober activity?
Oh, I still think it's because we're in Melbourne, going to all the cafes and restaurants and actually enjoying the stuff we have on offer here.
Yeah.
Well, for me personally, I can't speak on behalf of you.
Well, I think I have got kind of back into like creativeness, because I was always I used to be a sign painter, and I kind of started hand lettering and things like that again, just kind of that passion that I had when years ago was very much dulled when I was drinking. So I've started kind of being getting my creative head on once again.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. And Annie and Bianca, favorite social activities?
I think do pole dancing. My girlfriend is definitely one of my favorite things. I also really love playing poker and just board games. So I do play poker with my friends. So I have an unfair advantage because they don't have a great poker face, and I can really reap in all of the chips. But yeah, pole dancing, netball. I'm I didn't know that about myself until I got sober.
I feel like I still enjoy all the things that I enjoyed when I drank, except for now I enjoy them more.
Yeah,
definitely.
Like the ability to enjoy them. So I don't think that the things I used to enjoy slipped off or anything. Like I still really enjoy catching up with my friends. I still really enjoy doing the things I did. That's I had a lot more time now. I think that's like every sober person, they realize, oh, I can have hobbies. I can do things. So one of my hobbies was I'm a big animal person. I started working at a dog groomer's just for fun, and now I've completely changed careers, and I've just opened my business a month ago, and it's flying. So
another hobby is just sort of showing people how good sobriety is. I'm showing you.
Yes.
I love running lots of parties and being the fun one, the only one on the dance floor because I can dance at any moment because I'm confident enough to do that. I don't need to wait until I'm drunk enough. I just love being a sober role model to everyone, and it works because people keep asking me how did you get sober? Because I want to do this too.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people do drink to become more sober, but I think to become more confident. But I think that getting sober gave me so much more confidence. I do so much more with my life now, and when I'm in social interactions, I'm not saying words and trying to remember what I just said in this big feedback loop of trying to keep up with myself. I'm far more confident now that I'm sober.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. And I think for me, certainly, I kind of rediscovered all of the things that I loved doing when I was a kid and when I was a teenager that I just stopped doing because drinking took over. It's like sitting down and colouring in or going for a walk. or swimming is something that I love doing, and I hadn't done it for years because the thought of getting in a chlorinated pool with a hangover was just horrendous. So yeah, rediscovering things that you love. And I think for me, wanting that kind of rush that you first got when you got to the pub to meet your friends, I used to think that was equated with drinking alcohol, and it actually wasn't. I still get that, when I see my friends for brunch, or when I go on a beautiful walk. I live in Sydney. There's so much to do around here, and so many beautiful places to go that I still get that feeling from doing other things that I had previously associated with alcohol.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I get that from escaping my children, and that's solution. It was the pub. It was never about the alcohol. It was just seeing my friends and being away from them.
Yeah, I mean, but equally, I think I now enjoy my time with my stepkids a lot more. And with obviously with my baby son, who I'm breastfeeding every 5 minutes. This is the longest break I've had all day. He's going through a stage at the moment, so being able to enjoy that time, for all that it is, and be present for it, and being that role model. I think those kids now have known me for 5 years, and throughout that time, they now know me as somebody that doesn't drink. And I think that's really important, that they've got role models in their life who are not using alcohol, in every social situation. So
yeah, because it's what you do, not what you say, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Especially with kids, they kind of absorb everything. But it is, you can say to a child, "Don't drink," but actually, if you're demonstrating healthy behaviours around, showing that alcohol isn't needed, then it's just, it's going to be taken on board a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, we've hit our 45 minutes. Thank you very much, everybody. I could carry on this talk, like I say, all day, but we have got to make way for the next one. So everybody who is watching online, please have a look at everyone's social handles on the Mindful Drinking website. Everybody has a profile on there, so follow these guys on Instagram, download their podcasts, and we look forward to seeing you at other Mindful Drinking events. And thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye.